Hello, my name is Tammy Miller. In this video, we will analyze E2 solvent conditions. To analyze E2 solvent conditions, we need to understand which solvent is necessary for an E2 reaction and why. E2 reactions require a polar aprotic solvent. We discussed polar protic and aprotic solvents in our video, Classify Polar Solvents as Protic or Aprotic. In our E2 mechanism video, we learned that E2 reactions do not proceed through a carbocation intermediate. What this means is a polar protic solvent is not needed for hydrogen bonding with and stabilizing that intermediate. Next, we see that E2 reactions always require a very strong base to proceed. Protic solvents should never be used in the presence of a strong base. The reason for this is that the strong base will attack and deprotonate the protic solvent instead of attacking and deprotonating the substrate. This is the second reason that we always use polar aprotic solvents when it comes to an E2 reaction. Let's look at a question that is based on an E2 reaction. An organic chemist wishes to complete an E2 reaction. To proceed, he must choose the appropriate solvent to use from the 4 solvents that are available. Which solvent did he choose and why? To understand which solvent we need to use, first thing we need to do is we need to determine, is the solvent polar and is the solvent protic or aprotic? The best way to do that is to draw the solvents out. Our first solvent available is ethanol. When I look at ethanol, due to the oxygen, this is a polar solvent. But since the oxygen has a hydrogen attached to it, this OH group can hydrogen bond, therefore this is a protic solvent. A polar protic solvent is not a good solvent for our E2 reaction. Our second solvent is benzene. When we look at benzene, we see that this is actually a non-polar solvent. There is no polarity. Because of that, this is not a good solvent. The third solvent available to us is acetonitrile. Acetonitrile is going to be polar due to the nitrogen and the triple bond. And when I look at it, there is no hydrogen attached to an oxygen. So this is an aprotic solvent. Since this is polar aprotic, this is a wonderful solvent for us to use for an E2 reaction. The final solvent we have available is isopropyl alcohol. This is going to be polar due to the oxygen, and it is going to be protic due to the hydroxyl. This is a polar protic solvent. We are looking for a polar aprotic solvent. So this is not a good solvent for us to use for an E2 reaction. Understanding different solvents that are available to us in organic chemistry can help us to understand if a reaction is going to occur and if it is going to proceed appropriately.